Hello, everyone. Sufit here. I'm here today with Chuck Ticker, author of Bobby Gets Bupkis, Navigating the Sibling Estate Fight. Chuck is an estate mediator. Welcome, Chuck.
Hi, Sophie. Good to be back.
So, I have a question for you. You do a lot of mediations with blended families, with step siblings. And I want to ask you, are there different dynamics when you have just regular siblings versus step siblings in your mediation room?
Oh, I think most definitely there is a difference. If you're just dealing with blood-related siblings, I mean, that's challenging enough quite often. If it's come to mediation, if they're in court, it's already a bit of a challenge. Where you have blended families and you have step siblings involved in the dispute, it's certainly another adds another layer to the dispute. And, there's some authors that have theorized about this, saying that um, you don't have the the same bond between step siblings and siblings that are blood related. And therefore, there's actually a genetic or something built into the DNA where there's going to be a different relationship and less and more fragile. Now, of course, there's exceptions to that, but we're talking about families who find themselves embroiled in estate disputes. So yes, I think it does add another layer of difficulty, because particularly when you have a dispute involving the second spouse, who's now in a position of conflict with the natural children of the deceased uh, testators. For example, second spouse, sometimes the second spouse has been their spouse longer than the first spouse, but it's not their natural mother. And if there's been tension during the lifetime, there's going to be tension now about how much, typically would be a claim for support or equalization, or something. And there'll be this tension between the natural children, like what's left for us, and how much are we going to give to the second spouse. And then you have the stepchildren there advocating for their parent, the second parent. So yeah, it can get quite complicated.
Well, going back to a situation, let's say we're just talking about siblings here. Do you ever come across a situation where a step parent has overcompensated? Let's say that it's the step parent who's deceased, and left some to her children and some to the first children of the spouse. Do you find that ever there's an overcompensation to the stepchildren, just because she wants to make sure it's fair?
I've never seen that. I've
Okay.
seen the opposite. And certainly when I was in practice, I would quite often get calls from um, children whose parent had died, and the second spouse was supposed to leave a will where everything's divided equally between the two families, and they changed their will, and they're cut out, and they said, "What recourse do we have?" And it was a very difficult situation. So no, I've never come across a situation where the step parent is overcompensated. Certainly, uh, they maybe they'll try to be fair and make it equal. But typically, when we're in these disputes, it's because either the step parent hasn't kept a promise to look after the natural children of the deceased parent, or the second spouse is in a dispute with the children over division of the estate or support.
And does the family, let's say the children of the first to die, let's say the father is the parents of the three children, and then they have more children with the step parent. Does the first family have any recourse at all if the step parent changes her will and now she's gone, but she's left it all to her own children and left out the first family? Is there any recourse at all there?
Um, it would vary on the facts, but it can be a very difficult situation unless there was some sort of contract in place that the husband and wife had a contract that they were going to make their wills a certain way, that they were going to be uh, mutual wills as opposed to mirror wills, and that they were not going to change. In those circumstances, yeah, they probably could enforce it on a contractual basis, but quite often that's not the case. And um, so, I'm not an estate planner, but there are estate planning techniques that can be used. That instead of leaving everything outright to the second spouse, you can set up a trust, and then sometimes you get into disputes as who the trustees of that trust are going to be. Is it the surviving spouse? Is if the surviving spouse has a co-trustee being one of the first natural children or the first ch family, and they don't get along, you get disputes over that. It's there's no question when you're dealing with blended families, there is a much greater chance of a dispute. And really very careful planning has to be done. I'm not a planner. I'm not here to give advice on that. But if anyone watching this video is in that situation, and they think they're going to just go and do a do-it-yourself will and think everything's going to be fine, it's probably not a good idea. They should get some advice.
Wow, it sounds like a very complicated situation. It makes me wonder if maybe uh, the guy on getting married to the step parent should just sort of distribute a partial distribution to his natural children while he's alive. Anyway, it
Or
sounds
get,
like it's,
get a marriage contract and, or
yeah.
whatever, but even those can be challenged. So look, life is complicated all at the best of times. This adds a layer of complexity.
All right, there you have it. Chuck Ticker, our guest today, estate mediator and author of the popular book, Bobby Gets Bupkis, Navigating the Sibling Estate Fight. Thank you very much, Chuck.
My pleasure.